Alarmingly, we're still stuck in 1954. This is because there's 8 films produced by Hammer in 1954. Just let that sink in. 8 films, 12 months. There's an awful lot that goes on behind the scenes of making a film that stretches from the story department right through to the organising screenings and publicity to make sure the press, and more importantly the audience, know there's a film out there. Hammer, at this time, is opening its doors to some very talented people. Some we've already mentioned, some we're still to meet. But at the end of the day, it's still literally a family business. I find that quite astounding. Speaking of doors, I'll throw ours open. Welcome to the House of Hammer. 1954's proving to be a most peculiar vintage. It boasts a bouquet of abject and miserable failure, mixed with the sweet smell of faint critical acclaim and box office success. If you're joining us for the first time, we're happy you're here. But I feel I'd be a bit remiss if I didn't furnish you with a few more facts before we go any further. 1. I'm Kev Moore, your guide into room God only knows what number now for third-party risk. That's this one. But it's also known as the Deadly Game because, well, I won't go into that any further because I'm pretty sure I've done that in a previous episode somewhere. 2. Ben, Smokey and myself are still, at the time of recording, a little bit sore about the previous film we covered, The Stranger Came Home, which becomes patently evident as we try to put it behind us. 3. If you manage to make it to the end and enjoy what you've heard, let others know. Shout about it on Apple Podcasts, or on your social media, or buy the fruit and veg in Sainsbury's until the men of no humour take you around the back for a good kicking. Again. If shouting like a monkey wearing the wrong size pants isn't your thing, get people talking by wearing some of our spiffing apparel. As ever, all the links are in the show notes. Now you're up to speed, I'll get on with the film. Made in early 1954 and released in the US on the 8th of October and in the UK by exclusive on the 4th of April 1955, which is why we're still talking about it here and not over there, this murder mystery stars Lloyd Bridges as Philip Graham, an American songwriter who's in Spain trying to spice up his style with some Spanish rhythm. A bit like Paul Simon when he went over to Africa and kidnapped Ladysmith Black Mambazo. All joking aside, these are both influenced by real-life Texan pillager of folk music, Alan Lomax, the ethnomusicologist who started to document music and folklore in America's Deep South in the 30s and subsequently around the world, including Spain. He's said to be instrumental for the careers of legendary blues players including Muddy Waters and a whole host of folk, jazz, country and gospel singers. The list is eye-wateringly long, I'll leave it at that. Lomax became well known for his field recordings that were indeed sometimes recordings made in a field. Other times, people would let him indoors to set his tape machine up because it was really heavy. The only reason I know anything about Alan Lomax was because of the vegan dance punk Moby. Moby also did a Paul Simon and nicked loads of bits from Lomax's tapes, as well as any other stuff that was old enough to be out of copyright. He then stuck them all together with some plinky-plonky piano and wrote the most licensed album of all time. It was almost like every advert from 1998 to 2001 had to use these techno blues to sell anything by law. Anyway, back to the film. Philip Graham finds himself accused of murdering his old wartime buddy for some microfilm containing top-secret information about the hydrogelation process, no less. This was after he'd agreed to drive his mate's car back to London from Spain. It took him a while to get there because of a false start, where he was jumped by some hoodlums intent on getting the microfilm, and then finding out they'd only got the wrong bloke. So during his extended stay, he meets and falls for the local dance teacher that's also over there for the Spanish rhythm. Don't go there. I'm talking about one you dance to, you mucky pup. When Philip finally gets back to Old Blighty with the car, He discovers his friend's dead by unnatural causes, and the chase is on to discover who wants the microfilm, how much it's worth, what's on it, where they're going with this, and why a microfilm. Well, to clear at least one of those questions up, here's Ben with more facts that you didn't know you needed until now.
The object at the heart of the plot of Third Party Risk, which gets Lloyd Bridges' character Philip Graham into all sorts of trouble, is an envelope containing a few rolls of microfilm. On the film are partial instructions for the creation of some kind of new wonder drug antibiotic thing. Not that it's really important, but it begs the question, what is a microfilm and what are they used for? Being a librarian, I can, just for once, talk from a position of knowledge. Well, relative knowledge. Slight relative knowledge. To tell you exactly what a microfilm is, I need you to take a step back. Microfilm is just one kind of microform, the other one being microfiche. Microfilm is a rolled strip of, well, transparent film, either 16mm or 35mm, whereas microfiche is a flat, transparent sheet, typically around the size of a postcard. In both cases, they're used for scaled-down reproductions of documents. Typically, the images on a microform are reduced to about 4% or 1/25th of the original document size. We don't need to go into the process of how microforms are produced, other than to say that the original documents are photographed with a microform camera and transferred to film. Now, outside of some military and industry uses, I'm suspecting that most people's experience of or exposure to microform comes from watching films. Either ones that relate to espionage or feature a library in the pre-internet era. Or maybe you're a real-life spy, or a real-life librarian, or library user. Anyway, the reasons that they're a popular method of information storage for both spies and librarians alike comes down to the various advantageous characteristics of microform. Number 1. Like some other forms of duplication, you can have a look at an exact facsimile copy of the thing without actually having to handle the original thing. In the case of libraries, that means allowing access to a copy of something rare, fragile or valuable without having to worry about sticky fingers, spilt coffee or thieving gits. In the case of espionage, it means if Agent X gets shot or flushes it down the bog in a panic because a supervillain has their hotel room surrounded, the valuable information is still held elsewhere. Number 2. Like other physical media, microform has a 1-to-1 ratio of users. In terms of storing secret information, this is an advantage, of course. No one can breach your firewall or penetrate your cloud or whatever. That little roll of film in the pocket of your raincoat is all there is. For libraries, it's one of the disadvantages of microform. In most cases, a library will only hold one microfilm copy of something. And what if, for example, 2 different people are wanting to look at a copy of the Times from, say, Wednesday the 17th of May 1961, specifically an article on page 14 describing how an escaped monkey attacked 3 people in Stockport? Well, one of them is just going to have to wait. The greatest advantage of microform is that relatively large amounts of information can be stored in very compacted form. This makes smuggling sensitive documents much safer and easier than their paper formats, as a spy can conceal those nuclear secrets in a whole host of previously unthinkable places. I'll let you do the imagining for yourselves. As for the librarian, it means vastly reduced storage and preservation costs. It does, however, make them quite easy to lose or mislay. In particular, microfiche easily slip behind or between things. I speak from experience. Number 4. As microform images are usually too small to read with the naked eye, they require some sort of magnification. In third-party risk, a handheld magnifier suffices, but in reality, a microfilm reader would be required. Again, for the spy, this adds an extra level of security. Should Agent X accidentally leave those nuclear secrets on the train or at a motorway service station, your average Joe who doesn't happen to be lugging around a microfilm reader with them is unlikely to have the energy to try and decipher what is written on the film. For the librarian, ensuring your patrons have access to the widest selection of archive monkey attack articles means purchasing at least one microfilm reader. The disadvantages of this are the costs of the machines and the subsequent maintenance. And moreover, having to show every single monkey attack enthusiast who blunders into your library just how they work. And I'll be honest, they're not the most straightforward things to use, and in the case of microfilm, require an awful lot of patient winding and rewinding until you get to that article that you want. Such as one from page 4 of the Dundee Evening Telegraph from Thursday, June the 18th, 1914, concerning Moritz, the roller skating monkey who rampaged through the royal box before biting his would-be captor on the chin and punching him in the eye. Number 5. Colour microform is extremely expensive, so those nuclear secret stroke escaped monkey shenanigans are probably going to have to be viewed in monotone. In addition to microfiche and microfilm, there's also ultra microfiche, an exceptionally compact version of microfiche or microfilm storing data at a much higher density. Also worthy of a mention here is the microdot. This is a text or an image substantially reduced in size to prevent detection by unintended recipients. Microdots are usually circular, hence the name, and are often the size and shape of a typographical dot, such as a full stop, or the little dot of a lowercase I, such as that found in a bronze swimming certificate. Proper spy stuff. Now, if you've been listening to this and thinking, well, Ben, this is mildly interesting, but surely by now it's a defunct format. Well, buckle up, buttercup. I can't speak as a spy, not being one and all, but I can tell you that there is still a place for the humble microfilm in a library. Why is this? Well, quite simply because not everything has been digitised. Far from it, in fact. In some cases, microform versions of things, particularly newspapers and periodicals, remain the primary or in some cases only format available. I accept, increasingly, these are lesser known or desired publications, but they still do exist. And I'm sure there are other existing applications for microform that I'm either overlooking or not familiar with. Plus, think of what they've outlived. Many storage formats that you may be more familiar with have come and gone. CD-ROM, VHS, audio cassettes. If you've enjoyed what you've heard here, I can suggest one of two follow-up actions. Either become a spy, possibly a time-travelling spy to ensure you can partake in the golden age of pre-internet microform espionage, or head down to your local library and ask them to set you up on a reader. Then ask them if they happen to have a microfilm copy of Yeoville's Western Gazette from Friday, September the 26th, 1924. Specifically page 12, the article Monkey Attacks Motorist tells the story of how Mr. Mark Harborne was driving along a quiet Welsh road when a large monkey dropped from a telegraph pole into his moving car. After it wrapped its big hairy arms around him, he was forced to defend himself with a spanner, which only infuriated the monkey further. Sensational stuff.
Okay, that's enough background stuff for now. On to the main event, which involves microfilm, murder, mayhem, and possibly meh? All will be revealed as Smokey guides us through our usual balanced and intelligent conversation about third-party risk, or the deadly game.
All right, gentlemen, we are back with third-party risk. We should point out, you have our usual Yank in peril in England. This time we are joined by the spectacular Lloyd Bridges, which is lovely to see. His only Hammer presence, from what I can see. It's a good presence, but I think we'll come on to that a little bit later. I wanted to bring to the forefront what we've watched recently, i.e. we've, apart from, we will give special dispensation to The House Across the Lake, but compared to The Stranger Came Home, or, sorry, The Unholy Four, whichever you wish, the Lions movies, 5 Days, or Face the Music, is it nice to be back, regardless of how much we've lamented them occasionally in the past? Is it nice to be back with a good, solid Hammer crime noir?
Oh, God, yes. Something
so.
Nice and straightforward for a change. You've not got 15 plots going on. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing too complicated in here, really, is there? And also, it's regardless of the fact that the scenes that are supposedly shot in Spain aren't, and when they want you to think that it's Spain, they play a bit of flamenco music and stick up a Spanish poster on the wall. But you know what? I was sold. I was quite happy with that.
It works for me. Carry On Abroad was the same. Hell's Bells, it was definitely.
Yeah.
Don't forget all the reels of stock footage as well. Come on.
Absolutely.
Please.
I'm just glad that Hammer never discovered Port Merion before The Prisoner, because otherwise every film would have been filmed in Port Merion, no doubt.
Well, going back to your original question, Smokey. Yes, is the answer. It's nice to have something that's straightforward and only 63 minutes long, thank God.
Yeah.
But, and there is something, and I don't know whether it's just me or whether you two chaps would agree, but there is something still reasonably impenetrable about these films. I still watched this film. I've had to watch it twice. Still watched it the first time through and thought, didn't understand an awful lot of that. I got from A to B in a juddering sort of broad stroke sense, but I really missed out on, I didn't understand who two of those characters were, didn't really understand why X was happening to Y. Okay, I got the broad strokes of where we get to at the end. But there's something about these films that just make them really hard to watch, and this was another one.
Do you think it's because they like to crowbar blackmail in wherever they can? Because they've got blackmail in this one as well. Another one for the bingo card.
Yeah, I don't see why not. But I think it's that they always start out with a simple enough premise and then take many tangents to get, as you say, to go from A to B. They leap from A to S, and then they go to M, and then they end up at Z eventually. And it's a real tortured route. But I will agree with you that a second viewing really helps this film.
I just think what's missing from this film and a fair few others of the Hammer films around this time is motivation. Understanding what the character's motivation is. Here, almost every single character in this film, I'm just absolutely at a loss to understand why they were doing what they were doing. Right from, sort of our hero to our major villain to the others who are involved doing weird things along the way. And you just think, I don't understand why anybody's doing anything. So how, as a viewer, can I be captivated by a story where, it appears that people are doing things for no good reason?
But Ben, there's a whole film based on the finding of some macro film. I'm going to call it macro film as well, because it's nowhere near microfilm. But this macro film, it's all about this particular piece of film, but we never find out what's on the film. It's almost like it's a MacGuffin. It doesn't matter what's on there at all. It's just the adventure that you have in the retrieval of this film.
Yeah, we're led to believe it's something to do with pharmaceuticals, aren't we? But as you say, it's never really properly fleshed out on why people are after this macro film. And why people are so desperate that to have it that they want to kill. And as you say, blackmail and pay money for. Okay, fair enough. That's never fully fleshed out. However, as you say, I like that idea that it's actually a MacGuffin. Because if you throw that in there, then it's a lot of people involved in a wild goose chase for nothing in particular. And that actually makes it make a little bit more sense.
Yeah. Spain doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
No, it really doesn't. And going back to the microfilm thing as well, is that, as you say, the nature of it is you've got this sort of, what do you call it, pharmaceutical chemical formula is sort of within this macro film. So you could kind of believe it if it was like Big Pharma or, the sort of agents from some kind of government agency or something like that were after it. But it's just some, big fat Spanish man after it for reasons that aren't explained. Sorry for the slight spoilers.
He likes small things.
Yeah, he likes little things, and microfilms quite little. Yeah, it's never, but it's one of a plethora of things that aren't explained. And as you say, I completely agree. It doesn't really matter what's on it. All we need to know is that his life is being threatened because he's in possession of this thing. But I don't ever feel as though that's the case. I just feel as though he's a guy who's blundered into a situation, which is fair enough. That's what the synopsis of the film states. But the blundering is, and I can elaborate on this should you want me to, is all his own fault as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, keep going.
Yeah, please.
Well, we have this situation, okay? So we start in Spain with his mate, and he ends up going back to England and finding out that his mate's dead. We'll have had that in the summary of this story before we get to this point. He discovers his dead mate's body, and there is absolutely no reason whatsoever why he can't just ring the police and say, by the way, found my mate dead here, I've had nothing to do with it, but I thought you might want to know and come and investigate it. But no, he doesn't do that. He starts wandering around the place, amidst he's, basically sort of leaning over his dead mate's body and ripping things out of his pockets and the like, and thinking, oh, I'll investigate this crime myself for no reason whatsoever. Oh, and I'll also implicate myself accidentally in the crime by touching everything and stealing pieces of evidence. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
But Ben, don't forget, he's a musician. And musicians, we've already learnt, are very good at investigating things for the police.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because I was going to as well. Yeah, we're returning to face the music territory here, which is someone who is in the wrong profession to be investigating a murder. Lo and behold, is thrust into investigating a murder. And this time, it's even worse because he's not even a musician. He's a songwriter. He doesn't play it.
Yeah, good point.
He just writes lyrics.
Actually, now come to think of it, this really does lay the ground for what would happen in Italy 20 years later. Because if you look at the amount of giallo films where it's somebody that's caught up in this murder mystery plot that has no investigative skills whatsoever, even down to some of Dario Argento's most famous ones, where it's a musician that's stuck trying to work out what's going on. So actually, there's something to be said for this film. I've never actually put the two together until we start talking about it. Yeah.
There's a little Hitchcock in there as well, if you think about it.
Is it miniature one?
The wrong man in the wrong... But there is that little Hitchcock bit in there as well.
Can I just, I'm just going to take you all back a step, though. Can I just reiterate, all right? In Face the Music, Alex Nichol is in the apartment with the woman when she's killed. And the police come round and say, by the way, you were there when she died. We know that. So hence you're involved in the investigation. Here, he wanders in and he finds his friend dead. And it's clearly obvious he's had nothing to do with the crime, and for reasons that no one can explain. No one can explain. He doesn't basically pick up the phone and say, my mate's dead. He starts blundering around like bloody Robinson Cluedo.
Hey!
Playing devil's advocate, all I can say is that when he is, his mate has flown back to England. Mm-hmm. Lloyd Bridges is still in Spain. Mm-hmm. His job is to drive his mate's car back to London. He is then attacked for no reason at gunpoint, knocked out, woken up. Police speak to him about this. The police say to him, well, this attack is something to do with your mate. He was involved in some dodgy stuff, right? So that's all I can imagine is once he gets to London, finds his mate dead, then...
You pick up the phone and say... Officer, my friend apparently was involved in something dodgy and now he's dead. Would you like to investigate? Because I'm going to go off and charm this Spanish bird I've just met.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. I am just playing devil's advocate. I'm just saying maybe he doesn't quite trust the police right now because he's been told that his mate is bad news. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think that's the thinnest of thin explanations is all I'm saying.
Well, no. Right. I'll tell you what's thin, right? I'll tell you what's thin about this film. Every scene that takes place in the cafe. Because every scene that takes place in the cafe, there is an interloper listening in, just a foot away, and no one ever drops their voice. It happens 3 times. Yeah. No one drops their voice. They just listen and they overhear every little bit of exposition that could ever be needed.
You didn't need to in those days. Everybody was so polite they didn't listen. Going back
sorry, I just got to say, I love the Englishness. I love the Englishness when Lloyd Bridges is pretending to eat, and it's just so English. And they go, "Are you enjoying your fish cake?"
Going back to your stumbling around the murder scene, don't forget it was in a dark room. He'd got no choice but to stumble about. But then that makes you wonder what kind of a crack killer you had that you could actually kill somebody when he couldn't even see him. Brilliant, that.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. I mean, we're laughing and joking and we're pointing out the inconsistencies, but I don't know about you guys, but I was enjoying this. It was full of plot holes and full of ridiculousness, but and as you say, Ben, correctly, half of it didn't make any sense whatsoever. but it didn't stop me enjoying it.
No, I'd agree, and I'd praise the pace at least for at least the first sort of, half of the film, because we have the whole setup. It happens in about 8 minutes. The scene you've already referenced when he gets clonked out when he's driving his mate's car back to England happens on the 8-minute mark. So you've got an awful lot of setup there happening very early, and it does rocket along. The problem I have is I just don't care. Because none of it makes any sense. None of it. It's like, I'm not invested in any of these characters. And that the whole Spanish thing seems like a huge gimmick, which again, I'm sure it is, and I understand that. But it's almost like it's been the Spanish tourist board has had a brown envelope involved in this sale. By the way, it makes Spain look great because, it just don't have anybody killed out here, apart from, we'll get to that in a little while. But, it's...
Yeah, steady.
It's just... I mean, it's not, I agree, it's not unlikable. I've seen an awful lot worse. It's just so odd.
We've seen an awful lot worse recently.
Well, yeah, just generally. But it's just such an odd film.
It is. It really is.
Do you think it's Lloyd Bridges' fault that we're actually so engrossed in this? Because to me, he's a brilliant lead.
Agreed. I think he's wonderful.
It's so watchable.
Yeah, I was reading earlier today. Thank you for making it available, Kevin. Was the Hammer Encyclopedia, and the person again who we kind of butt heads with was kind of openly mocking Lloyd Bridges, and I thought that was very harsh. Granted, they're mocking more of his delivery of some of the lines he's given, and don't get me wrong, the one they're talking about is a horrible line, but for the rest of it, he is really watchable, and he's. I don't know about if you guys agree, but he's incredibly charming in this role.
Yeah.
I'm again find myself slightly creeped out though by his sort of romantic involvement with a woman who is very much half his age. So I mean, she literally is. She was 20 and he was 40, which is, and he looks older than 40 and she looks younger than 20, which is a little bit unpleasant on the eye. But yeah. Aside from that, he's passable, isn't he? He's absolutely fine, as you say. I've seen worse. Oh, it's Springsmith. I've seen worse, by a long, long way. And, characters that I'd rather not get behind. But no, he's absolutely fine. It's just that I just think that the sort of the nothingness of the story is what lets it down.
All right. Well, then let me ask you then. I mean, Kevin and I have just said how much we have enjoyed Lloyd Bridges in this role. Well, who was your standout performer in this?
In fairness, that's a really good question, and I'm not sure. I did think that Simone Silver, who plays Mitzi, put everything into it in what she had to do, and she is billed as the femme fatale, which is unfair a little bit because that's not the character really that she is in this. And you watch this and you think, anyone go into this thinking, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing her as that. That's not what she is. As I say, it's a little bit unfair. Aside from that, I don't think there is a standout character. It's very much a sort of a composite, or a piece where all the characters have equal merit. As I say, I find him. I mean, anonymous is not. I don't mean that in the sort of charged sense of the word that it sounds like I do. I just don't think he's that massive standout hero. But that's not his fault. It's because, and I keep going back to this point, the script doesn't allow him to be. It's just, there's like 2 scenes of action in the whole script, one of which is absolutely tremendous. I almost swore there. And let's talk about that, right?
Yes.
There's a huge fight in a burning warehouse, and it's brilliant. Let's talk about that.
A huge fight in a burning warehouse over an open pit of poorly disguised weapons.
Kev, it's a flaming axe pit. Let's not talk it down.
I wanted to ask about that, right? So that fight in the above the flaming pit of axes, and we're literally not making that up.
No, that really happened.
Where they're having that fight is a theatrical event. It's a barn. So are they fake? Because if they're props supplied for theatre, then they're going to be fake, aren't they?
They'll be rubber spears.
Not from the sound that the guy made when he fell on them. They're not fake.
True.
I know. But I'm just saying, why else would they be there if it's not a prop store for theatre?
Well, not all weapons in things aren't like rubber. You see a sword fight on stage and you hear the clanky. They're made of metal still. You can still be just because it hasn't got. Look, right. If you go to see a play on the stage and they're having a sword fight, then it's not the singing sword from blooming Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's an actual sword. It just hasn't got sharp edges. You could still hurt yourself if you fell on a huge pit full of them, particularly in the middle of a fire.
Again, devil's advocate, just working it out.
You might just have a nasty twist to your ankle by falling that distance anyway.
But can I just ask, though, the more fundamental question is, why do you keep your axes in a pit that people can fall into?
And pointing straight up.
Yeah, exactly. The health and safety executive had not been round to visit recently, is all I'm thinking.
No.
Neither had the fire inspector.
No, yes, with all those grass skirts laid about that can catch fire if anyone drops a cigarette.
I tell you what, though, it was a great fight. It really
was. It really was. Proper, some proper punching.
A proper slugging each other in the face. We haven't got our mate from the past 5 films getting beaten up this time, though. So, we just get Lloyd Bridges. But yeah, I really enjoyed that fight. But as you say, the action, it's very light on the action.
I enjoyed the one take feel to it as well, because at one point one of the actors picks up something and lobs it, and he misses by a million miles, but they just leave it in the film. He misses him by about 8 feet, but they just leave it in because it's great.
It's believable.
It's what would happen in a real fight. Yeah. Have this. Oh no, I've put a window out 4 foot behind you.
Dear me. I mean, but this is good though. I mean, you know me. I do like to focus on the positives if we can of the film. But unnecessarily convoluted, I think, is fair. Compared to what we just watched with The Unholy Four, this is a picnic compared to that.
There's just, as I said though, there's just something about this that makes it hard to digest the first time round. You're right; it is pretty straightforward, and having watched it again, when you know what's going to happen, it's. I just think, as I said though, I hate to repeat myself, but it's still devoid of motivation. I still don't know why any of the characters in this film did what they did. I'd also like to interject at this point on another downer, and I apologise, I'm just that guy this time round. The music is awful.
Oh yeah.
The music the whole
ridiculous.
way through is that's the word I've got, Kev. Ridiculous music. Because I'm sure it's fine in a different film.
Intrusive was the word I wrote down, because it's there's so many occasions where it's very loud and not needed. And also, I'll tell you this, right, but a little behind the curtain. When I was watching it for the second time today, I looked away at one point, and it was the scene when they're in the theatre store, and I knew the second the bad guy had pulled out the gun because the music told me. And I was like, oh, it's that bit. And so I looked back.
Honestly, some of the music in this, it sounds like music from a documentary about ferrets. It's just not the kind of thing you'd have.
Take your word for that, Kev.
Scene. I'll kill him.
I wasn't expecting you to say that at all. Well, I mean, I'm quite happy to watch a ferret fight if that's the music. But also let's not beat around the bush. The music to signify we're in Spain is very stereotypical.
Oh wow, yeah.
Lots of castanets and just clicking feet. Yeah,
I do love the fact that the flamenco guitarists do recognise how annoying they are, so they make sure that they're protected by having a bunch of children follow them all over the place,
particularly during pivotal scenes of the film as well.
Yes.
Here's a pivotal thing that I'm saying. Oh no, we can't really hear it because here comes some musicians and some children walking past.
Yeah.
Seriously, have you ever seen a more miserable bunch of children ever doing anything?
Well, you know why that is? Because they've had a white middle-class woman from England come over to teach them how to do their own traditional dancing. That would piss me off as well.
That or being strapped to a flamenco guitarist for 6 hours, that's going to do it as well.
Or being used as a human shield.
Yeah.
We should point out, actually, Maureen Swanson, who plays the sort of, as you say, the possibly slightly underage love interest. I mean, she's lovely and she acts her socks off, but her accent does drift between the English and the Spanish with alarming regularity.
She's not the only one. Our main villain, who is supposed to be Spanish, is very, very Scottish at times.
Yeah, good point.
Did anyone else look at the villain and think Eric Pullman could have done that so much better?
Definitely. Yeah, Pullman could have really rocked it.
Yeah.
It was definitely
I just kept seeing him. Yeah.
It's even down to his white suit. I'm thinking, God, that's a Pullman suit, that is.
Yeah.
Reflects the hot Spanish sun.
Absolutely.
But there was also the manager of the hotel, who has to get into the safe to get the letter out of it. I just wanted Sid James back with his dodgy accent from the Lady Craved Excitement. I just wanted, hey, what are you doing? I know he's Italian in that, but it's, hey, what are you doing? I just wanted that back. God, when we're looking back to those films, something's wrong, don't you? Oh, dearie me. Okay, so we'll come to sort of to the end of this a little review, but I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to return to what we said at the opening. Regardless of your objections, Ben, and I get them, and I do, and I agree with the vast majority of them, but there's just something about this that just has a little more charm than what we've had recently. And for me, that just lifts it above your standard potboiler hammer noir that we've had. Ben is shaking his head. That's all right. I don't mind. But I'm just saying, I think this is a superior film to Face the Music and 5 Days and all that. This is better.
I think it's got a lighter touch. That's what we're looking for. Because it's all been very po-faced before, and this doesn't seem to take itself that seriously. I don't know why.
I just think you're like two men looking at a single communion wafer and a pilchard and thinking, whoa, what a feast, in light of the fact that I haven't eaten properly for a month beforehand.
I'm agreeing.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't hate this. I really don't. I think I would be in slight agreement with what you're saying, that you can't hate this. It has got charm. It really does. But it's massively fundamentally flawed as a film. Underneath that as well. But no, I joking aside, it's better than some of the stuff that we have seen recently. Is about as high a praise as I can give it.
So I'm going to take it. I'm going to take that as praise. So before we move on to ratings, did anyone have anything else to add about the plot or anything that happens in the film? Because I've got a couple more.
Yeah, I can't let this film go without pointing out one thing at the end that goes utterly unacknowledged by everyone in the film.
Oh, this might be the same as mine.
Our villain, and I'm not spoiling it for you, viewer at home, our villain is cornered, okay? And is rumbled in a way that actually makes some sense in a plot that is quite thin.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this for effect, listener. He shoots someone in the face when he's rumbled, and he pulls out a gun and he shoots basically a lower ranking police officer, and he shoots him in the face. And I mean it. That's exactly what happens, and no one cares. This guy drops to the ground, okay, and no one tends to him. They don't ask him if he's all right. Then immediately there's a romantic couple smooching over him. There's a young child coming in over him, and it's like, did no one see that man get shot in the face? And that will be my sort of everlasting memory of this film. It's the story of the man the non-credited extra who gets shot at the face at the end of this film.
And it's Spain, and it's the 50s. They were just saying things they're done different over there. That's all.
Well, they're producing them in a factory. There's always another
absolutely. Yeah, you could just put one of them big heads over him anyway, and he'd be fine.
Yeah, they were great. Yeah. They were great. Big heads were great.
Brilliant.
Like Moonraker.
Yeah.
I've seen El Mariachi. It happens all the time. I would like to add to that, though, Ben, because that was going to be one of my points, is that also the fact is not only does he get shot in the face, it happens in front of children who scream a lot and run away, and no one mentions the horribly scarring act that just happened in front of children.
No, they're off to the fiesta immediately afterwards to be frightened, to be frightened by big-headed people and a bullfight. Yeah.
That's incredible. I've got one more, which is quite a pivotal scene in the film.
Does it involve a piece of machinery?
Yes, it does.
Because that was going to be what I was going to bring up.
Got it.
There you go.
Kev,
No.
you take it. You take it.
The wonders of portable technology is portable.
Portable,
Yes.
in inverted commas, yeah.
In the same way.
Portable just because it's got a handle. No other reason.
No.
It's less of a Walkman, more of a hunchman.
It comes with its own trailer, I'm sure of it. But yeah, this tape recorder. Oh my word.
We'll set the scene.
Well, he secretes it away under a table and sets it off recording a pivotal conversation in hope of getting some kind of confession from our criminal overlord. And he gets rumbled because he's got a microphone dangling from above the table, and he can probably see the tape recorder underneath because the table will have been moving when the reels went round.
Because it's the size of a suitcase.
Yes.
I just like to clarify that for the listener.
Because the recorder is bigger than the table is under.
The recording device he carries, it's an incognito, is the size of a not just a briefcase, a suitcase.
Yeah, it gets literally rumbled because the table is rumbling from the machine.
Yeah. Let's put this out there. This film isn't perfect. No.
I think I've made that point, haven't I?
I think so. I'm just clarifying. Okay. Let's have some ratings. Kev, your final thoughts on the rating on the film, please, mate.
For me, it's a 6 out of 10. It's enjoyable, but it has got its flaws, like we said. And my final thought would have to be always depend on a dog to give the game away, because if you're running around the place with a massive head and a gun, you can bet that it's going to be a dog that's going to cock it up for you.
Okay, I'll give mine next. I was the same as you. The first time I watched this, I gave it a 6. It's silly and ludicrous, and some things make no sense whatsoever.
Implausible.
But absolutely. But I really thought Lloyd Bridges was charming. I'm kind of wanting a trench coat like him after seeing him in it, because I thought it was kind of cool. And but there was just something about it, especially on the second view, that I really enjoyed, and I kind of saw past some of its flaws a little bit more. So I've upped it to a 7. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. There was just something about it. It was silly and ridiculous, but I enjoyed what I saw. And I'm going to pass it over to the man who is constantly shaking his head at me tonight. So Ben, let's have some final thoughts and a rating from you, my friend.
Well, gentlemen, as you know, I always respect your terrible opinions. But no, in fairness, we're not that far apart. I can't quite see how you would stretch it to a 7. I'm going to give it a 5. You know, it's not without its charm. It's, as you said, it's a refreshing, different film from what we've seen largely recently. It's in terms of it being watchable and reasonably jolly and, you know, fairly straightforward, but Gordon Bennett, it's far from perfect, and you know, in the entire pantheon, whatever the word is, of cinema, it's bang average, bang down the middle. So yeah, I can't slate it, and I'm not going to. And it has a flaming axe pit. I mean, what that adds a star on its own.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. 5 out of 10.
Fair enough. Well, thank you, gentlemen. But before we go, I thought we should honour Mr. Lloyd Bridges' one and only Hammer performance with a little callback to his airplane days, which is where, correct me if I'm wrong, most of us will know him from.
Yep.
Which is where his, obviously, you know, his famous line, which is oft quoted, of looking like the wrong day to quit.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking. It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking. It's like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines. It's like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
So his character in this is called Philip Graham. It looks like Philip Graham chose the wrong day to quit what? So, Kev, we'll start with you. I did text you about this earlier.
I forgot where I put sangria.
Nice. Good shout. Ben?
Telling the police when I've stumbled across a crime I clearly wasn't involved in.
And mine is, he looked like he picked the wrong day to surreptitiously record someone with a briefcase.
Suitcase, please. It's a suitcase, please.
Suitcase.
It's full 20-kilogram allowances in that thing.
Just before the very ending of Third-Party Risk, a small quote-unquote Spanish child appears before Lloyd Bridges and Maureen Swanson and proclaims,
La fiesta, señorita! La fiesta!
Watching the film and listening to the audio, it's pretty hard to escape the fact that the cherubic infant on screen really isn't the one to be saying those words. This, my friends, as I'm sure some of you know, is what the industry calls ADR. Even if you're unaware of what those initials stand for, you have certainly witnessed many examples of it. ADR stands for Automated Dialogue Replacement. Listen to any movie commentary and you're guaranteed to hear the director mention it at least once. Very basically, no production ever goes off without a hitch. Even Hitch himself was a user of ADR, especially where Notorious was concerned. Terrible joke, but it did make my point. Dialogue replacement can be needed for a number of reasons. The audio wasn't as clean as first thought, the actor didn't hit the right inflection or intonation when saying their lines, or even something as simple as matching up the sounds to what's happening on the screen. So, once the film is wrapped, sometimes the actor will re-record certain words or lines so the audio is exactly what the director is needing. Obviously, as time marches on, so does technology. So, whilst Third-Party Risk could have possibly chosen someone a little more well-suited to fill in that particular line of dialogue, it's really not the most egregious of sins. While we're here though, how about we go over some instances of ADR and dubbing in general, shall we? Let's take possibly the most famous example of ADR, and this isn't a bad one. In fact, it's possibly the best one. Darth Vader. David Prowse, the Hulk cover man, and future Hammer alum I must point out, with appearances in Vampire Circus and Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, did cut an imposing figure. However, if you're wanting to strike fear into the heart of the universe, probably not the best idea that you have the accent of someone who sounds like they're scolding children for scrumping apples.
Start tearing this ship apart piece by piece until you find those tapes. Find the passengers of this vessel. I want them alive!
Then, of course, you have Sam Jones in Flash Gordon. Another case of the actor having the physical presence, but not really the voice. A massive amount of Sam's lines were replaced by actor Peter Marinka. Although, to be fair, the dialogue isn't exactly Shakespeare in that movie, is it?
You know we'll never make that opening with nobody at the wheel!
Oh, come on, you'll be blown to pieces, Flash! It's suicide!
No! A rational transaction! One life per billion!
Up next, we have a personal favourite of mine, the dubbing of everyone's favourite American, Arnold Schwarzenegger, in Hercules in New York.
Like it down there.
Let me be the judge of that. I am tired of the same old phrases, the same old things.
Like it down there.
Let me be the judge of that. I'm tired of the same old faces, the same old thing.
But of course, no segment about ADR would be complete without some examples of TV edits or airline versions of some of the more sweary lines that end up in Hollywood productions. I know they're two of the most notorious, but I simply can't help myself. First up, we have the SLJ. Yes, Mr. MF himself, Samuel L. Jackson, and the cinematic classic that is Snakes on a Plane. This is a family show, of course. So, if you don't know, or can't work out what the original dialogue was, I'm not going to be the one to tell you.
Enough is enough! I have had it with these monkey-fighting snakes on this Monday to Friday plane!
And finally, whichever genius came up with this one for The Big Lebowski deserves some kind of award.
This is what happens, Larry! You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps? This is what happens!
So there we go. Hammer may not have been quite as bad as some of these, but who knows what's coming to us in the future? And I've got to say, I am Monday to Friday excited to find out.
Well, there I was, under the impression that all Spanish children sounded like middle-aged housewives called Albert. Every day really is a school day. As we've said, the plot for Third Party Risk is already one we've seen plenty of times and will continue to see for some time to come. But there are a few notable differences from the usual Hammer way of working that may well have been down to the frantic schedule I mentioned at the beginning of this show. This is based on the 1953 novel by Nicholas Bentley rather than a radio show, which is still the quick and easier option. It's adapted for the screen by its producer Robert Dunbar and its director Daniel Burt, who, along with Lloyd Bridges, would only work with Hammer this one time. In fact, apart from the 2 films with the Lions, this would be it for Robert Dunbar too. For the most part, the rest of the cast and crew are rounded out by the regular safe hands that bring it in on time and, more importantly, on budget. And here's the rub. As you know, here at the House of Hammer, we'll always give a film a fair chance and watch it a few times. Sometimes a bit more than we really should do. River Patrol, you know I'm looking at you. But this is something that both audiences and critics alike at the time would never have had the luxury of. Some of the films that we're talking about were lucky to be seen once, and the thought of being almost surgically examined about 70 years later would have been enough crazy talk to get you locked up and the key thrown away. Well, as I'm on the subject of surgically precise criticism and crazy talk, if you're a subscriber to the Hidden Room tier of our Patreon, there's plenty of both in there, but mainly the latter. Amongst the wealthy amount of extras in there, we're also covering the Hammer House of Horror television series. Unless, of course, you're listening to this on Mars or something in the future, in which case we covered that and have now bought our own planet and filled it with monkeys wearing trousers. Trust me, it happens. Charlton Heston hates them. Anyway, until the next time, when we're running around in tights, it's good morrow and a hey nonny no.
From me, Smokey.
From me, Ben Tillison.
And me, Kev Moore. Bye!